Congratulations on finishing Coastin the Desert. We just wrapped up an epic 18-episode series from our trip to the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Egypt.
So, in the spirit of completing a series, we typically will do some kind of superlatives at the end, where we pick our favorites, the best of, the worst of.
Yeah, an award show.
Yeah, but like minus the glitz and the glitter and, you know, we're not actually awarding anybody, there's no one here but us.
I was gonna say, we are not presenting a medal to anyone, and we are not wearing suits and ties.
I mean, we could go change if you wanted.
No, that's too much work. Anyways, we have a ton of categories here that we have tailored specifically to the parks and attractions that we did. So if you've seen the ones from Coastin through Europe, we've adapted it a little bit to accommodate for this series. And we have a lot of awesome stuff to talk about because there were some incredible places that we visited, some amazing rides. So let's get into it.
For our first category, we are looking at most surprising parks. So this is a park that was different than our expectations for one reason or another. And the nominees are SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Global Village, IMG, and Doha Quest. And the winner is Global Village.
This park blew us away. The scale of it was out of this world.
Yeah, so here's the thing. When you're talking about surprising, it could be in a good or a bad way. For all of these, we all meant them in a good way, which is great. The thing with some of the other ones is we had expectations that were a bit higher than Global Village. Global Village, we were kind of expecting more like a fair.
Yeah.
And while there is a part of it that's like a fair,
it's a small section.
It's very small, and we didn't realize just how like grandiose this experience was going to be. And that's why, even though it's not the best park on this list, it was definitely the one that was the most, whoa.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming.
Absolutely. Which then naturally brings us to our next category of most surprising rides. So, for one reason or another, these are the rides that blew us away. The nominees are Hulk Epsilon Base 3D at IMG Worlds of Adventure, Hypersphere at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Dragon Force at El Malahi, and Green Lantern Galactic Odyssey at Warner Brothers World. And the winner is Hulk Epsilon Base 3D.
Like we said, all of these rides surprised us in one way or another, but Hulk was the first out of like the Hypersphere style rides that we did. And when we were going into SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, we had higher expectations. I feel like they were more neutral when we did Hulk, so when we did it, it was more of like a whoa.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And that was our first true time experiencing a ride of that style, because really, that's the only one like it. And then Hypersphere is a similar sort of idea, but it's Intamin's take on it. Hulk is dynamic attractions. And that was just like sensory overload, and it's a long experience.
Yeah.
Really, really detailed. Just, man, I wish that we could have done this again. That was like one attraction that I was like, I'm almost glad that we didn't know anything about it going in.
Oh yeah. The next category on our list was actually a new category. We've never done this one before. So it is Best Queue. So literally just the line leading up to the ride.
Yeah, and we're including all rides in this. It's not just roller coasters.
Correct. So the nominees are Shrek's Merry Fairy Tale Journey, John Wick Open Contract, which, LOL, we didn't even ride that, Avengers Battle for Ultron, and Flying Aces.
This is a tough one. They just all have amazing queues.
I know. This was like the land of incredible queues, which I was like, wow.
Yeah,
I don't even mind.
Out of this world, but we had to pick one.
The irony is, though, before I even say who wins, there were barely any lines.
Yeah. We didn't have to like wait in any of these lines.
Like they have these amazing queues for non-existent lines. So anyway, the winner is John Wick Open Contract.
Yeah, so this ride was closed while we were there, but we had the amazing opportunity to check out the queue anyways, and it exceeded our expectations. This could have been a walkthrough. Like, that is the attraction, and I would have been just fine with that. It was so freaking cool.
All right, Keanu Reeves, good for you.
Like, if you've seen the movie, it looked like the movie. Like, spot on. Our next category is one that we have also brought in just for this set of parks, and that is most overwhelming. And that is because all of the places here, or at least most of them, are so elaborately themed and have this like huge scale to them that you just don't quite get in the US and even Europe, to be honest. And so this was absolutely worthy of it because we kind of walked around with our mouths hanging open for a lot of these. The nominees are SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Warner Brothers World, Global Village, and the Mariel Water Park. And the winner is Global Village.
I think I had like an anxiety attack at some point when we were there. Like, so when we say overwhelming, like, really mean it. It was a lot. Like, I didn't know where to start, and I felt like I was never gonna have enough time to see enough, and I was getting pressured by all these people to buy things, and I'm like, oh my god.
And it was one of the few parks we went to that was packed.
Yeah.
And so like you have just people everywhere, and when we say like you don't know where to go, there are so many pathways. Like anytime you see one of those countries listed, you could walk into it and then check out the market and then exit and then do it all over again with all these different pavilions. Insane.
So the next category is most likely to return to. So this could be because maybe they're getting something new. Maybe there's something we missed. Maybe we just loved it so much that we can't wait to go back. So the nominees are Warner Brothers World, SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Motion Gate, and Ferrari World. It's Ferrari World!
Wow!
Because we have to go back because we missed stupid Formula Rosa.
Yeah, the world's fastest roller coaster closed for us, which as of when we're releasing this video, it's still closed, so we weren't even close.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. I feel like I would have been more upset if it opened like a day after we left.
Oh, I would have been livid. Oh,
yeah. I think the fact that it's been closed for this long, I'm like, okay, so there was no shot no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, even if we delayed the trip, like, we were still gonna miss it, so it's
whatever.
Moving on from that. But it's funny because I actually probably would rather go back to some of the other ones because there was more stuff that I liked. Like, I love Flying Aces, but like a lot of the other stuff in that park was not really like my favorite.
Sure. Well, and we missed at Warner Brothers World the Tom and Jerry coaster.
Yeah, but if you put Formula Rosa and Tom and Jerry coaster, it's like,
Yeah. But I will also add, Warner Brothers is getting a Harry Potter expansion. So whenever that opens, that's going to be a park to visit.
Yeah.
That should be really, really cool. The first Harry Potter expansion outside of a Universal park. What's that going to be like? So then naturally, the next category is the parks that we are least likely to return to. And the nominees are Doha Quest, Lusail Winter Wonderland, Dream Park, or El Malahi. And the winner, or I guess the loser in this case, is El Malahi. And I feel bad for saying this for any of them, because like none of these places were bad.
No, but here's the thing. Egypt is like kind of out there.
It's out there.
Not that Qatar isn't, but like obviously we just said we're probably gonna go back to do Formula Rosa eventually.
Yeah.
And Qatar's not that far, so like in theory it could happen.
Yeah.
But Egypt and going that far outside of like Cairo is probably unlikely.
That was the thing, is like it's not even near the city center. So we had to go ways out there to get to this place. And because they just have the one roller coaster, it's like, well, we've done it and it was good. Like again, it was nominated for the rides that exceeded our expectations, so it was better than we thought it would be, but that doesn't change the fact that we don't really need to go back there.
Yeah, because I want to go back to Egypt, but I don't need to go there. I would be like wanting to go to different parts of Egypt, not for coasters.
Absolutely.
The next category is one of my absolute favorites because it combines two of my favorite things, which are roller coasters and good theming. So this category is best themed roller coaster.
And specifically, we are talking about theming during the ride,
Yes.
because we had a separate category for best themed queues.
Yeah, there's this much good theming that we had to make two separate ones.
Yeah, correct.
Like we could have done a whole other one for like best station or something.
Oh, literally.
Like it's ridiculous. So anyway, the nominees are Mission Ferrari, Dragon Gliders, Spider-Man Doc Ock's Revenge, and Madagascar Mad Pursuit. And the winner is, actually by a good amount in my book, Dragon Gliders.
Dragon Gliders was incredible. This is a mock rides powered coaster in the same style as Arthur at Europa Park, but I much preferred this one.
Well, you also love How to Train Your Dragon.
I love How to Train Your Dragon.
So, yeah, this was just one of those rides that I wanted to ride over and over and over and over again.
We kind of did. It was our most ridden ride at Motion Gate. And I love how it passes over the pathway, so it gives you a good view of Burke. It has screens, it has practical effects, there are animatronics, it's a little bit of everything. But the other rides on here are good too, but this one was like next level. Our next category is most detailed park. So this is different from best themed park because theming can be taken in so many different ways that we felt like we had to actually break it up into like subcategories. So this is specifically the level of detail that these parks had. It'll make sense in a second. The nominees are Warner Brothers World, Motion Gate, IMG Worlds of Adventure, and SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. And this was a tough one. Honestly, I could see any of these winning, but we selected SeaWorld Abu Dhabi.
The thing that makes it so cool is because a lot of the other ones that were on here are like movie based.
Yeah.
And this was really cool because it was literally just the theme is ocean.
Yeah, the whole place has one cohesive theme, but then it's broken up into subsections.
Yeah, but it also warranted some level of creativity because they had to come up with like a whimsical way to show off the ocean, the sea, and all that stuff without it being outside. So having that indoor space and being able to control like the full environment, they're literally like using crazy, probably like 10K screens all around that are putting you in different environments and everything. And it's even the tanks themselves have theming in them. Like it was just next level.
So it's like specific details here, and then you have details within the animal exhibits, and then the rides, and everything is so cohesive. That park was nuts.
Yeah. So contrary to the prior category, instead of looking at like the nitty-gritty details, this is looking overall at how well the parks convey stories through all of their attractions, which again was not easy to figure out because there are a lot of really good parks.
Yeah.
But the nominees are SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Warner Brothers World, Motion Gate, and IMG.
The same 4 nominees as the previous one. No surprise there.
Yeah. So for this one though, we're gonna give it to Warner Brothers.
I feel like this one is a no-brainer because they are dealing with all those different IPs and they have specific attractions based around those characters, and they combined those characters with these ride systems in a way that's just so compelling and engaging. It was wildly impressive. Like, especially when I think about like the DC characters and the Looney Tunes characters, we're used to seeing those like Six Flags parks, and this just brought it to a level that we hadn't seen with those properties.
I agree, absolutely. And this is another one, like we said before, that I definitely want to go back to and do re-rides. I feel like we only got to do one ride on everything.
I know, we almost did another day there. If you watch the Ferrari World Day 2 vlog, you can see we tried to do a half day there, and then for one reason or another weren't able to.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to go back here. Our next category gets crazy. We're talking about the most insane experiences that we did on this trip. And for this, we are gonna look beyond the roller coasters and rides. We're talking something that like we've never done before. So the nominees are going to the top of the Burj Khalifa, aka the world's tallest building, the Jice Flight, the world's fastest zip line, the SeaWorld Abu Dhabi Sea Venture, going in the world's largest aquarium tank, and going on the Ferrari World roof. These all were incredible things that we got to do.
And unlike the other categories for this one, we could not agree. So, we have a tie.
Yeah.
Tell them your choice.
I said the Jice Flight.
And I said the underwater walk.
Which, frankly, they're both pretty insane in their own way. Like, I would never ever compare them to each other, other than the fact that we did them in the same trip, but I loved both of them for completely different reasons.
The underwater walk was literally completely different than anything I'd ever done before. Like, I've gone like snorkeling once or twice.
Yeah, this is not like that.
It's not like that. That's the closest thing I have to compare though. Whereas, you know, I can compare other zip lining and stuff to the Jice Flight. Granted, like I said, it's not the same.
Yeah, this
but
is over a massive canyon.
Correct.
Like, among all this insane rock work.
Not the rock work.
I mean, it's real rock work though.
Yeah, excellent theme.
The rocks work.
Yeah, the rocks worked. But yeah, the underwater walk was just so different than anything I've ever done before. I had to give it to that. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, or at least the moment you guys are usually all waiting for, but I feel like the answer might be kind of obvious here. But here are the nominees anyway for Best Coaster. Manta at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Mission Ferrari at Ferrari World, Flying Aces at Ferrari World, or Dragon Gliders at Motion Gate. The winner is Flying Aces.
Wow, no surprise there.
Crazy.
I feel like going into this trip, we knew this was gonna be our favorite coaster. Like,
I actually don't know about
Really?
that. Because before we knew the Formula Rossa was gonna be closed, I think a lot of us were kind of on the page that maybe Formula Rossa will be our favorite.
but everything I had heard from people who had been and ridden both said that, yeah, Flying Aces is the winner here. So
And
like,
I don't disagree with you, but I think that we were fixated on the fast aspect. That we're like,
Yeah.
we were talking about Formula Rossa so much that I feel like we talked about Flying Aces significantly more once we found out we weren't going to ride it.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Formula Rossa.
But once we knew we weren't riding Formula Rossa, I feel like we were like, yeah, I mean, this is gonna be the ride of the trip.
And you know what? I think had we ridden Formula Rossa, it would have obviously gotten a nomination, but I don't think it would have won.
Yeah.
I think Flying Aces still would have won.
Yeah, I agree. But I loved each of these 4 nominees, again, for completely different reasons. They're all really, really well done. Let's move on from Best Roller Coaster to Best Dark Ride. And specifically, we are looking at true dark rides here, so we're not counting motion simulators. And the nominees are Justice League War World Attacks, Shrek's Merry Fairy Tale Journey, Scooby-Doo Museum of Mysteries, and The Forbidden Territory. And the winner is Shrek!
This is Shrekcellent.
It was so good!
It's Shrektastic. I could not even believe how much I liked that ride. Like, I knew I would like it, but I was so blown away with the decision they made to do the puppets.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I was like, oh my god, this is so smart.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was a brilliant ride in ideas, and it carried it out in execution. So many of the times you ride a dark ride and you're like, well, you know, they had the right idea, but you know, they should have fixed this or that. And Shrek, I had absolutely no complaints because the practical sets were amazing. They didn't leave out any details from the movie. It just told the story from start to finish. It was completely cohesive. Even if you'd never seen the movie, you'd be able to follow it just fine. Like, that's so good.
All right, this one should be fun. The next category is Worst Ride. And the nominees are Roller Coaster, aka the SLC in Egypt, Viaggio in Italia at Ferrari World. I have to say it like that. Made in Maranello at Ferrari World, and Driving with the Champion at Ferrari World.
Dude, poor Ferrari World.
No, not poor Ferrari World. They just won Best Coaster.
That's
all right?
true,
They're
yeah.
fine.
Ferrari World getting a lot of nominees in this video.
Yeah, good and bad. So the winner for this one is... Do you want to try saying it?
Viaggio in Italia.
At Ferrari.
At Ferrari World. It's the Flying Theater.
God, it's terrible.
It's so bad.
We don't even have to say anything more than that, other than it's just awful. And if you want to know why any further, just watch the vlog.
And finally, our last category is Best Theme Park. This is a tough one. The nominees are SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, Warner Brothers World, Motion Gate, and Ferrari World.
This was a really hard one to make a decision on because I think that any of them could win.
Yeah.
Because, again, SeaWorld, most detailed theming. We gave Warner Brothers best storytelling.
Yeah.
Motion Gate has some of the most incredible dark rides and coasters I've ever seen as far as like thematics go. And Ferrari World has flying freaking aces.
Yeah, they by far have the best roller coasters.
Yeah.
So like, you really have to find a balance, and that's why we selected Motion Gate.
Motion Gate had everything. It had coasters, which granted, none of them were like out of this world, but they had them and they were fun.
Yeah.
Then they had just a whole indoor section, which was
the best part of the park.
The best part of the park. And it was just so vast, and there was like entertainment in the streets, and there was like a liveliness that even though the park wasn't that busy, you still felt.
You know, again, I think that the theming overall was probably a little stronger at some of the Yas Island theme parks, but this park had everything, whereas like a place like SeaWorld Abu Dhabi has 2 roller coasters.
It's also tough though, because if you look at this as like being mostly an outdoor park, it's much easier to give crazy theming in an indoor space, right?
Yeah.
I think that the indoor space was on par with the other indoor parks.
Absolutely it was.
So if, in theory, if Motion Gate wasn't closed, I think it would be just as good.
I wouldn't say any of these parks are perfect. They all have something that I think could be a little better, but man, they're incredible. I feel like that about sums up Coastin' the Desert.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This has been such like a massive part of our lives over like several months now.
Yeah, I know. We got back in March, early March, and it is now June. And we've just been reliving all those amazing memories through these videos. And even doing superlatives like this, I'm like, man, this is so cool. Especially I go back to that category of most likely to return to. I'm like, all right, let's jump on that. Let's get to it.
Yeah, seriously. And I have to say, and for anyone else who travels a fair amount, I'm sure you can agree with this, that you sometimes don't really appreciate what's happening in the moment as much as you do when you look back.
Yeah.
And I feel like looking back on everything and like realizing just how crazy beautiful these parks are, and yes, we really mean that.
Yeah.
Nobody paid us to say that. We really mean it. I am just like so grateful that this experience and this trip happened.
Yes, and I highly recommend going out there and checking out the parks at some point in your life. So, we hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, make sure to stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and we'll see you next time.